I followed the same blueprint everybody else had, which was go to school, get a job, right? And then immediately when I got the job, I realized, like, dude, this is not where I want to be, and nor do I want to be here for long. I look around, and if you're at your job now listening to this podcast, like, look around, look at your boss, look at your boss's boss. Ask yourself, do you actually want to be in those roles, or is that what society told you want it to be?
Real estate, find you the best rates. All throughout Philly, like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of the two.
Hello everyone, this is John Lee, your local real estate agent and also investor here in the greater Philadelphia area. I am here with my boy Hoan Thai. Hoan, if you can give a brief introduction of how cool you are to our audience and let them know what's up.
Cool is that's a judgment kind of thing. I think I'm super cool, but other people maybe not so much. But what makes me cool is I think my lifestyle is pretty cool. I have a lot of free time. I get to hang out with my friends, my family. I get to do what I want when I want, and I make money without trading, let's say, most of my waking hours for it. I used to work in corporate America, and I used to do the 9 to 5 thing, but it'd really be like 8 to 6, right? When you factor in travel time and all that. So I've been able to escape my 9 to 5 and create my own business, have my own portfolio of real estate properties, collect passive income, create active income, have tax benefits, and all of the things that come with becoming a real estate investor. And then the coolest part, though, is being able to show other people how to do the same thing. It's one thing for me to do it for myself, but it's another thing, and it's super fulfilling to have helped other people do the same. So I guess that's what makes me cool. I help other people escape their 9 to 5 as well.
Yeah, so the common theme that I always think of, Hone, and when I think of you is escaping the 9 to 5. So if you can explain your story of like how you started your job, what got you into your career, and then what eventually got you out.
Oh, it's easy. I followed the same blueprint everybody else had, which was go to school, get a job, right? And then once I got the job, though, that's immediately when I got the job, I realized, like, dude, this is not where I want to be, and nor do I want to be here for long. I look around, and if you're at your job now listening to this podcast, like, look around, look at your boss, look at your boss's boss. Ask yourself, do you actually want to be in those roles, or is that what society told you want it to be? So a lot of people chase these roles, and I never bought into it. Like, I bought into go to school and then get a job because I knew I didn't know any better. But once I was there, it like hit me like a ton of bricks that this is my life. Your life, John, your life, my life, it's right now. And for those listening, your life is right now. And so as you're looking out into your world, just realize that this is what you are living in, and you get to create that and recreate it if you want. And so that's what I did early on. I worked at my job for 5.5 years, and I was just like, dude, this is not it. And so I had to figure out a way out. And that's where I discovered real estate investing because of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that, that turned the light bulb on. And I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. And real estate is the way that I'm going to do it. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki has been like the real estate Bible for most of us as investors. And even for me, when people ask, like, um,
What book should I read or whatever? It's like,
yeah, when they ask me what book should I read, that's the first book I always recommend because if someone believes wholeheartedly the concepts of that book, I also believe and think that real estate is probably a good avenue for them to use as a vehicle for them to be in what you like to teach, being financially free, right?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, real estate is just a business model. I'm not passionate about real estate. I also often say, like, I hate real estate. So it's not anything to chase as a passion. At least that's not why I did it. I did it because it's a business model that just made logical sense. Like, you can use other people's money to buy a property that you own that will appreciate over time, and you get to pay down the principal of the debt and increase your net worth that way. And then you collect cash flow, and then, oh, you get tax benefits from owning this real estate. Like, there's so many things all in one little bundle that just goes, oh, that's why people invest in real estate. And if I needed to borrow money to buy real estate, I can go to a bank or a hedge fund or like a credit union or a number of different places for
Right.
this money, and they give it to me fairly easily. Like, I can get money now without tax returns. I can get money now without a personal financial statement. I just go, I own this property. Here's the lease. Give me money. And they're like, okay. And they of course they do the appraisal and all that stuff, but they're like, okay, this makes sense. Here's the money. If I wanted to get that same amount of money to start up a business, they would be like, okay, Hone, show us all of the tax returns, show us all of the P&L, show us everything, show us all your books, and then we'll consider giving you money. So it's just like, oh my gosh, night and day difference between like the ease of getting the money. So it's just a business model that I prefer. Um, and that's why I do it. It's not because there's a passion behind it. It's just the business model works.
Yeah, so like your story is that you work 5 years in like a W-2 job. You said
Yep.
this ain't it, right? You said this is definitely not it. So what inspired you? I know that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but at what point did you like take the action? Because that's the biggest thing that a lot of these people have as far as fear, right? Fear of taking that initiative, fear of taking that action. What motivated you to buy that first property? And tell us a little bit more about that experience when you bought that property.
All right, cool. So in 2000, it's funny. In 2008, my friend said, "Yo, you got to buy real estate. You got to become a real estate investor." And I was like, "Ah, no, that's boring. That's stupid. That's corny. Why would anybody want to do that?" Right? And that at that time, I knew nothing about real estate, so I was like, "Nah, nah, 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 nah." Right? And then in 2009 is when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then I was like, "Oh, real estate." Right? And it's like it's so funny because he told me to do it in 2008. I read the book in 2009, and then I was like, "Okay, I have the bug. I want to move forward." Right? And then fast forward to today, and if you're listening to this podcast, this is like 15 years later. Like he's still not a real estate investor, but I make most of my money from real estate. So it's funny how people will tell you what to do even if they don't do it themselves, kind of thing. But anyway, he told me in 2008. I read the book in 2009. I wanted to do it. The thing that held me back from doing it from 2009 to 2011 was that I didn't know actually how to make real estate work. And this is where most of my teaching comes from. I try to illuminate people. I try to give them like this perspective of real estate investing and what it is and what it isn't. And so what people thought and what people still think and what I thought back in 2009 is that like you buy real estate, you put 30% down, 20% down, and then you rent out the property and you cash flow a little bit and voila, right? So my problem was if I put 30% down because it was an investment property, um, I would run out of down payment money. Like if I put 30% down for a $200,000 property, that's $60,000.
Hmm.
Like I could maybe buy the first property, but I don't have endless amounts of $60,000 chunks to
Every
keep on
time.
buying property. Right. And then I did my break even analysis, right? I was like, okay, if I put $60,000 down and I rented this property, the cash flow that I would get, I would break even in like 7 years. And I was like, 7 years? None of this makes any sense. So in 2011, 2 years after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I joined a seminar that taught me how to become a real estate investor. And at that seminar, I learned all about the BRRRR strategy, which I didn't know was the name of it. And it didn't even have a name in 2011.
Yeah.
But I learned all about the BRRRR strategy. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you can get all your money back within 1 year? Like that is how people do it,
And
right?
sometimes even less than a year.
Even way less than a
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that's one of the big misconceptions is that like you could buy real estate and have no money in the deal. Right. And that's something that people just like couldn't wrap their brain around. And I couldn't wrap my brain around until I went to that seminar. And it was just like, holy smokes, this is key right here. So I was offered this property. It was a 6 unit apartment building. It was like, oh, do you want to buy this property? And mind you, I hadn't bought a property yet. And I was like, no. Right. And I said no simply because I was scared. Just like most people, they say no because they're scared or they're uneducated or they just think they're not ready. Whatever mental framework they have running in the background, they just say no. And I was no better than them. So I said no. So then the person who offered me that property, I think they forgot. They came back around like a couple weeks later and they were like, yo, Hone, do you want to buy this property? And I was like, let me analyze it. And then I analyzed it and I ran all the numbers as if it was just an exercise. Not that I was going to buy it, just an exercise. And so I would ask myself, like, what could go wrong? So some of the things that could go wrong. What if the property doesn't appraise right? Okay, cool. Let me run that number. What if I can't rent it out correctly? Let me run that number. Okay, what if the rehab goes over? Let me run those numbers. And I would ask myself, does the deal die if that happens? Right. And so I would constantly stress test this deal, this 6 unit apartment complex. And for the life of me, I couldn't kill the property. I couldn't do it. I like ran it and ran it and ran it. And it's like, I have to be really wrong for this to be a bad deal. In every other instance, it's a great deal. So I said, if I don't buy it, then I'm just being a little punk. So let me buy. So I got a hard money lender to lend me the money. Remember, it's easier to get money for a real estate deal than it is for a like a business. I was able to get hundreds of thousands of dollars for this deal where I had never done a deal before. I bought this real estate property and I signed on a loan quickly because I needed to ink my name on it while I still had my courage to do so. Because I knew if I like was like, oh, later, I would lose the courage and then I might not ever become a real estate investor. And if I never became a real estate investor, I would become my boss and then my boss's boss. And that to me was a nightmare because I could not see my soul existing for much longer in my little cubicle. It was just a terrible idea. And even if I had the corner office, which was no better than my cubicle because I would go see my boss, it's like I still don't want to be there because I can see his life. So I had to figure out that real estate thing, or else I was doomed to be my old boss.
No, that's awesome. And like I actually had a podcast meeting like yesterday, and they asked me like a similar question, and what I did was I always took action in a sense of the simple saying is how do you eat an elephant, right? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, right?
Barbecue.
This so with that being said, I I took parts of understanding about how to analyze a deal. So like for example, going even something as simple as going under contract and then like, oh okay, you're under contract, well then back out of the contract. So then I backed out of the contract. Okay, well go under contract and then analyze the deal. Or like there's certain processes that I started to pick up and what you're saying definitely resonates. But let's talk about, let's just say, like a newer investor, right? Someone who finds a deal, right? Uh, like, what would you say to them for them, one, to understand the courage that you had to pull the trigger and the motivating factors for them to decide to say, hey, this is a good deal or this isn't a good deal?
All right, so real estate's real easy, okay? Because there's the deal, the property itself, there's the property, there's the money, and then there's the person who works on it.
Right.
And that's all it takes to do real estate deals. Now, if somebody found a property, I don't want to say found a deal because it's that needs to be determined whether it's a good deal or not, right? So they find a property and now they have to learn how to analyze. So they would have to take a look at the property and say, like, is this a good property for a flip? Is this a good property for a wholesale? Is this a good property for a rental? Because just because it's good for one doesn't mean it's good for the others. So they have to figure out what their exit strategy is, which one is it good for? And then they got to ask themselves, which one of those three things that I mentioned, are they good with finding properties? Are they good with finding the money? Are they good with doing the work? Right? Where are they best at? So if they found the property, that might be good enough. They don't necessarily have to find the money. They don't have to necessarily find or do the work. They just need to find people to do those things. So they can bring that to somebody else or to two other people and do some kind of group thing to actually take down the project. Now, if they want to like maybe be all three of those things, right? So they have to analyze the property and know what a good deal looks like. They have to take a look at it from the cash flow perspective. They have to take a look at it from the equity perspective. They have to check out the cash on cash return. They have to see if it makes sense from a cap rate perspective. They also have to see from like a neighborhood perspective, if number one, they want to be in that neighborhood with that property, and if the physical characteristics make sense. So like maybe this is a 2-bedroom property and everything around them is a 3 and that doesn't work out. Or maybe they have a property and next door is a vacant property or 2 doors down is a vacant property. So then that doesn't work for like insurance companies, or maybe down the street there's a cold beer takeout spot, or there's a lot of things that make a property not a good deal based on these different factors. Mm-hmm. So if you're brand new listening to this and you're like, hey, I found a property for sale. Okay, great. Now tell me why you think this is a good deal. A lot of people will send me when they're brand new, oh, this is for sale. Oh, this is for sale. Oh, it's like, okay, I'm happy you're excited. Now tell me why it's a good deal. Oh, well, it's for sale. No, I understand that, but why? What factors makes it a good deal? Are you getting it at a big discount? Does it cash flow really well? Do you have a unique exit strategy? Like maybe you can build an ADU or you can do an extension or you can rent out the garage or maybe it's got land next to it and you can subdivide it. Like it's got all these neat little quirks about it that make it a good deal. Like tell me that. So brand new people, all you got to do, if you can find properties, if you're good at finding properties and you can analyze it, you can find the money, you can find the people who can do the work, and then voila, you can make money. So one misconception is that you have to do everything. And I call it a misconception because it's not true. And if you believe that, it may keep you out of becoming an investor because you get overwhelmed with the amount of work that you think is needed. So the misconception when it comes to real estate investing, there's many, but here's a couple, right? You need a lot of money to get started. You need really good credit. That again, misconception. You need a lot of time. Again, misconception, right? So money, time, credit, and then knowledge. So you do need to know some knowledge. But let's say you found a deal and you had no knowledge and you brought it to somebody who has the ability to take down the deal, like you can still get paid. So you can be a real estate investor or be parts of a deal without having all the knowledge. So you don't necessarily need money. You don't necessarily need credit. You don't necessarily need time and you don't necessarily need knowledge, but you got to be able to add value. At the end of the day, you just got to add value. So the misconceptions are like, it requires all of those resources when in reality, you just have to know what the value is to be able to add to the whole opportunity.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's either you add value or you pay to learn the value yourself. So, which would be the next segment of my question. So, I know that you are doing a lot of coaching, you're involved with coaching. So, what are you teaching your students? What are some implementations of these skills?
Yeah. So let me go back real quick. So what I teach my students and what you had asked me earlier is like, where did I come up with the courage? Right. So there's this little saying that I like, go far, right? Go far. FAR is FAR, stands for fire, aim, ready. So you fire first and then you aim. And then after you fired, after you aim, then you're ready. So fire, go far, go fire, aim, ready. It's like let's say you were trying to center the scope for a gun. If you just try to tweak the dials on the scope and shoot the gun, or before you shot the gun, and you're just like, okay, this is good. How do you know until you actually take the shot, right? You don't know that's a little left. You don't know it's a little high until you take the shot. After you take the shot, you can see where the bullet hole is, and then you can tweak the scope up, down, left, right. If you never take the shot, you don't know how good or bad you are in this world, right? The reality and what your conception is of yourself, they could be completely off. So one of the things I teach my students is to have courage by taking action and taking action more often, right? You're not going to get it perfect, but nobody starts off perfect. And actually, in reality, nobody is perfect. There is no perfect thing. So go out there and take action. What action could you take? You can start talking to sellers. You can start talking to real estate agents. You can start analyzing properties. You can do all of these things before you actually buy a property. And as you practice these things, that's how you get better. Now, within my education program with my students, we'll do some role playing. So I'll be like, all right, John, you pretend to be the seller and I'll be the buyer, right? Okay, ring, ring, ring. And it's like, and then John's like, hello. And I'm like, hey, this is Hoan. I saw that you own 123 Main Street. Have you ever considered selling? Oh, no, I've never considered selling, but this, that. And then we role play what you should respond with. Through that practice, that's how you get really good. Do you ever get perfect? No, because you never know exactly what to say to that person. And also, that person may not be ready to sell at that moment, but it doesn't mean that they won't sell later when you follow up, or they might not, or they won't call you back, right? They might call you back later because you left a really good impression on them. So what do you say to them? How do you leave that good impression? All of those kind of skills and tactics, like that's what we go over in the training so that newer people feel confident in it. They don't have confidence out of nowhere. They have confidence because of practice and because of knowledge. And so what I like to say is knowledge, confidence, action, results. Again, knowledge, confidence, action, results. So the framework is like knowledge, that's your head, right? Knowledge, confidence, and then that goes down to your heart, knowledge, confidence, and then action. It goes out, right? So knowledge, confidence, action, and then the result is what comes back to you. So you got this like motion out, and then you get back in. But everybody wants the getting back in. They want the results. but they're so afraid to take the action, and it's because they don't have the confidence, and they don't have the confidence because they lack the knowledge. So you join an education program to learn what you know, or what you know you need to learn, but you also learn things that you didn't even know you needed to learn. So you get to learn both from seasoned professionals. So you get that knowledge, and then eventually it turns into that confidence that you need. So
Hmm.
that's the kind of teaching that my students get, that kind of knowledge and confidence combo.
And what are some of the teaching skills that you have that you adapted that might be different than, let's just say, another coach or a mentor?
Oh, I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question, right? So like what makes me a
What
better
makes you
coach?
different?
Yeah, what makes me
Yeah.
different as a
Yeah.
coach versus other people? Well, one, it's my unique focus on the fact that people are trying to escape their jobs. Like there are guys who are like, I'm a real estate educator, right? Okay, cool. But I'm a guy who is a 9 to 5 escapee, right? I escape my 9 to 5, and then I remember all of the emotions behind it. And then I've got this unique ability to just sense how people feel. And it has nothing to do with the words they say, it's how they say it. So I'm listening for the little space between their words, and I can absorb how they're feeling, what they're afraid of, and I could vocalize what they might not be able to, where they might be stumbling with their words and trying to like convey a message to me, but they may not be using the right words. I'd be like, oh, this is what you're worried about, huh? And they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly it. So I'm able to sense what it is that people need, even if they don't know what it is that they need.
Mm.
So I can sense that. And again, I'm more like hyper focused, catered to the people who are in their 9 to 5 jobs, who are looking for a way out. The thing is, people feel stagnant in their life, right? There's a little hopelessness. There's a little bit of like, I feel stuck, right? There's a stagnation, and that stagnation causes people to like they know they need a change, right? They know they need a change. Maybe it's real estate investing, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's a franchise, maybe it's like operating some kind of laundromat or something, right? Like they know they need a change. They just don't know what that thing is. So I'm not your real estate guy. I'm your guy to help you get what you want. It just so happens that I'm using real estate versus the guy who's like, hey, I do real estate. I don't care if you're this, and this, right? It's just like, I can teach real estate over here, right? But the way I'm different is that real estate's the vehicle to help you get what you actually want. You want a lifestyle where you can spend time with your kids, where you can leave them a legacy, where you can feel proud of yourself, where you can create wealth and become rich and become a millionaire and all of those kind of things, and eventually get out of the 9 to 5 job that has you trapped, has you stuck, and has you where you don't actually want to be. You followed the game plan that everybody laid out for you without ever considering if that game plan works for you.
Hmm.
That's where people are. And so I get to talk to them from that point of view.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny, Hone. I think I have the same kind of gift of discernment, of just understanding the character of a person and the intentions and motive, I guess the best way to put it. So I definitely can relate with you on that. So with that being said, right, do you have like I don't know, like a success story, or like a student who might have felt that way? Or if not, if you just had a student that had
I
some
mean,
of
like how
success that
like how much time do we have? Like a million of them, right?
way.
Um, when you had your first meetup, when you hosted your first meetup, like Sean's son, who
Right,
was there on stage with me, right?
right,
He was a student of mine.
right.
Now, people may not know that because this happened years ago, but I remember he came to one of my meetings simply because he was that person who felt stuck and stagnant, where he was not making enough at his job. He wasn't seeing his kids. And then, more importantly, he wasn't sure how he was going to be able to afford the things that he needed for his kids.
Right, right.
I remember this one time he called me on FaceTime, and then he started crying. And I was like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Right. And he's like, bro, I just wanted to say thank you because I just paid the tuition for my kid's school.
Oh,
And
that's
I always
beautiful.
knew it was coming. I just never had a plan on how to pay it. And today I went there and I paid it in full, just boom, right? And this is a guy who he didn't have much money. he had bad credit, and I would always joke that he didn't even know how to spell real estate. And yet here he is today, fast forward a couple of years, and he's on stage at your place talking about how to become a real estate investor.
Right.
Like, come on, right? If a guy with bad credit and no money could do this and figure it
Working
out.
at what, Foot Locker? Was it Foot
Yeah,
Locker?
yeah, he was working at one of the sneaker stores or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the crazy part. 4 months after he joined my program, 4 months after he got laid off from his job. Did he see that coming? No. What if you, listener, got laid off from your job 4 months from now, right?
Right.
You'd be scrambling. Luckily for him, he had already done his first deal within 60 days or something like that.
Right.
And when he lost his job, he was like, hey guys, what do I do? What do I do? We're like, hey, you remember that thing you did over here where you made $10,000? How about you do that again? He's like, oh. And so he never went back to a job since then.
Yeah.
You know?
So for our listeners, he is now a full-time wholesaler, realtor, real estate agent. So he's doing well for himself.
All the things, right? All the things. So he decided to jump full into the real estate thing, like space. Like I'm not a real estate agent, right? And when it comes to wholesaling, I'll wholesale when convenient, right? It's just like my big thing is just like add value where you can. I don't want people to have the misconceptions that they need to become a full-time real estate agent, that they have to do full-time like property hunting and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, you don't. Figure out how real estate can serve you, not how you can serve it. Figure out how real estate can fit in your life. If you don't have much money, figure out how you can do deals without much money. You don't have good credit, figure out how you can do it without good credit. You don't have much time, figure out how you can do it within the time that you do have, right? Make real estate serve you, fit your life, and grow from there. And that's what Sean did.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. Shout out to Sean.
My man, Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, switching gears a bit, Hone, how do you manage your time between investing, mentoring, and then obviously your personal life?
Oh, it's easy.
Damn,
I
it's easy for you. Shit, it's hard as hell for me.
I don't know. Like I spend 2 hours a week. I don't know, like working, and then I 90% of my time is spent with my personal, like
Mhm, mhm.
my personal stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The little bit left, like it's all systems and people and all that kind of stuff, right? So like with the coaching, I I spend 1 hour a week on my Zoom calls. So that's how I provide the coaching. And then I'll spend some time with the students via text or phone call or whatever they need in order to do their deals. But that doesn't even take long just because I know how to dissect their problem very quickly. So I can like bang out their question, no problem. And then I have resources, like I have a whole bunch of videos and all so that people can go and find the solution that they're looking for so that they don't need to get it directly from me. And I train my students really well so that they don't need a lot of my attention, right? So from the coaching perspective, mentoring, it's like, call it like 3 hours a week. And then from the real estate side, like the investing and all, it's my contractor handles the work, the majority of it, right? So like I was just at a project today, I went there, I checked it out, but I spent like an hour there, but I don't even have to go every week. So an hour here, an hour there, whatever, just to check on things and then lay it all out. But once it's all laid out, my contractor knows what to do. And so he does the work. And then if for my properties that are stabilized, meaning rented, it's like for the most part, they pay. And then if something goes wrong, well, I just send my handyman out there. So either the property manager, so I have some properties that I manage myself, then I have some properties my property manager handles. And if the property manager is handling it, then they're handling it. So what time do I have to devote if they're handling it? And then if I'm handling it, the tenant reaches out to me. They say, "Hey, my washer dryer doesn't work, or like the roof is leaking, or whatever." Right? Whatever they say, sometimes I just screenshot the text that they send me and I forward it to my handyman.
That's exactly
And
what I do. Yeah.
yeah, and it gets done. And so, see, like where you're spending all your time is you're running around with like tenant or clients to like buy houses or whatever, right?
Right.
So that takes a lot of time. I don't do that. Not saying that's right or wrong, by the way. I'm just saying like I don't do that. So it doesn't take much. So I don't devote much time there. I guess the things that's important is to ask yourself, like, what do you want your life to look like? And then figure out the business model behind that, right? Figure
Right.
out the business model behind that. And if you're, and then create that, create the lifestyle you want with proper planning.
Right.
So believe it or not, I even hired a coach to help me better plan my life. So they take a look at what it is that you do, and then they ask you, they'll even ask you something like this. This is really genius. They'll ask you, okay, take a look at your revenue, right? From all of the things that create revenue for you. So for you, you might do some flips, you might do some rentals, you might do some real estate agent work, you might do whatever else you do, right? So you have all of these different streams, and then they'll say, okay, rank them from top to bottom of like most revenue to least revenue, right?
Right.
And then next to that, rank them from most stressful to least stressful. And what you might find is that the one that produces the least amount of revenue might be the most stressful. So that's an easy one to just delete from your life. Now, people might go like, oh, but like I can make an extra 1,000 there. Yes, you could, but at what cost? And could you generate an extra 1,000 by taking that effort and applying it to one of the better revenue drivers?
Right.
Right. So what do they say? Like millionaires have like 20 streams of income, and like a billionaire has like one or something like that. I'm making that up. But the concept there is just like being more focused allows you to make more money,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're known for it. You're known for it, and you're better at it. That's why specialists make more than generalists, like surgeons make more than family doctors or whatever, right?
Right.
So rank all of your revenues and then rank them by stresses and see what you can eliminate. And then if you can't eliminate or you don't want to eliminate, see how you can make it less stressful. Right? What is it that you're doing that is making it so stressful? Like the email that I got came from like your executive assistant. So that's pretty cool that you have one of those, right? And so that might alleviate some of the stress that you have, unless your executive assistant sucks and they cause your life to be more stressful. But your job, and everybody listening, your job is just to figure out what life you want and then optimize for that. Don't,
Right.
don't create that job or work to just make money without considering the lifestyle.
The other thing is that and we can kind of unpack this a little bit, is that I know you like to advertise as like the 9 to 5 guy who, quit your 9 to 5, but there are plenty of people who love their 9 to 5s. And in addition to their 9 to 5, this level of avenue with real estate, it's as passive as you say it is, right? As far as with the amount of time that it's giving you, right? For you to do coaching and obviously for you to live your personal life. If someone so chooses to, get into real estate and still keep their job, that's definitely an option.
That's up to them. Look,
Yeah.
I'm targeting the person who feels stagnant, the
Mhm.
person who feels unfulfilled, the person who feels like their soul is being crushed. That's who I'm trying to help. The people who are like, but oh, I love my job. Great. I don't need to help you. Like, what do you want? Like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy that you're happy.
Right. Right.
I'm trying to help who I once was. I was the person who was at the cubicle who looked around and said, none of this makes sense. This all sucks. That's who I'm trying to help. Not the person like, oh, look at me. I love my job. I don't care that you love your job. I'm not talking to you. All of my messaging is geared towards the people who hate their life. What I'm trying to tell them ultimately is that it's okay for you to hate your situation. It's okay for you to be upset that you're not living the life that you want. It's okay to feel like you're a square peg in a round circle, right? If you don't fit there, that's okay. And if you want to get out, great. I have a vehicle for you called real estate investing. That is the difference. So all those people who reach out to me and say, but Hoan, I love my job. I don't care. Like, why are you telling me?
Right.
It's like, dude, great, you win.
Right.
Next, who
Yeah.
needs help?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to talk to, because
Right.
they feel stagnant. They feel stuck because life has told them that they're supposed to be there. And then when they got there, They were like, I don't fit. I'm a misfit. I don't fit here.
Right.
Right? That's who I'm assisting.
That's beautiful. So to wrap things up, what is one piece of advice that you wish you'd received when you first started in real estate?
Well, it's whew, when I first started in real estate, what should I have?
What's one piece of advice that you wish you'd received?
All right. Let's see. Let's see. Well, it's funny because I got a lot of the advice early on. So I'm just trying to think like what did I recently get that like um I guess just it's like go faster. Go faster, right? Here's the thing. Like my first deal was a 6 unit apartment building. Okay, cool. So like I should have jumped to like 30 units after that, and then 100 units after that,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like go faster. And I say that now, saying it in hindsight, it's like maybe I went the speed that I went because that's what I needed to do. Because if I went faster and did something wrong and all that kind of stuff, like it could have just destroyed me. But I think like go faster and do cooler, bigger, neater kind of projects, and then really understand the risk profile behind them. Because let's face it, real estate can make a lot of money. And if you learn how to play the game better, you get to make more money.
Of course.
So like what I know now is way different than what I knew 15 years ago, obviously. Right. And it's like, oh, you can make money like that and like this, like that. Like, for example, like a syndication, because I don't want this to be so broad that people are like, what the hell is he talking about? Right. So like, for example, like a syndication where you can make like an acquisition fee. That's pretty cool. Like you can do a big deal and then you can create an acquisition fee for yourself so that like when you're doing a project, you get paid for the project. So that's kind of neat, just like learning and understanding that. Um, and then like, and as you start doing bigger projects, you need more money. And so you want to learn how to like reach out to private lenders and investors and all that stuff. And
Right,
so
right.
like like raising money from retirement accounts and understanding that. Like when I first started early on, there was a guy, he kept sending out emails about Camel Plan and raising retirement money or something, right? But I didn't understand it. And like I didn't know what a Camel Plan was. So it never crossed like entered my radar that this matters.
Right.
But like everything matters. What the big guys are doing, they're doing for a reason. So learn that. Go faster. Get around the big guys. Learn what it is that they're doing. Don't just keep doing what it is that you know to do. What is everybody else doing and why are they doing it? And really understand the science behind it. And then this way, like you can apply that to your own life and make 10 times more money with 10 times less effort.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And how can our listeners connect with you or learn more about you?
Yeah, it's easy. They can go to Hoan at hoanzone.com, and Hoan is Hoan, kind of like a loan from a bank,
Yeah.
LOAN, but with an H. So Hoan at hoanzone.com, and zone is ZONE, like regular. Hoanzone.com. And then they can also go to the website. And then if they are interested in working with me for like coaching or something like that, they can always go to hoanzone.com/apply.
Oh, sick.
Come on, baby.
There you
It ain't
go.
my, it ain't my first day. For those listening to this, I have it on my screen. So yeah.
Yeah, I have it on, we have it on the screen as well as I'll make sure links in the description will be below as well.
Yeah.
So apart from that, Home, thank you for being such an awesome guest. And obviously there are many more events to come for us to be together. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Anytime.
All right, brother. Thanks.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rate. All throughout Philly, like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of the 215, even the 267, who always helping, like, oh, no time for no student.